there's a looming US recession, and also there's an interest rate hike. And given all of that, it places a shroud of uncertainty in assets that are volatile like stocks and crypto, and it places a larger preference on assets like bonds that gives people a fixed rate of return. There are maximum pain thresholds in supply that can be investigated from three dimensions. Number one, supply and profit dropped to 49.0% as the market traded down to 17.6 thousand. So what I've mentioned, around 17,000, that's the lowest that we have for Bitcoin, putting more than half of the supply into unrealized loss. Historical bear market floors have bottomed between 40 and 45% of supply and profit. Hey guys, so as you all know, over the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of downward volatility from Bitcoin, and which brought down the entire cryptocurrency market space also. Coming from an all-time high of 69,000 to dropping to about 17,000 shows us a very, very large movement down from 69,000 to 17,000. But if we also zoom out, it also shows us that over the long term, Bitcoin had a very, very long upward run. What's significant though in all of this is that it went lower in the 20,000 all-time high from the 2017 cycle. As you all know, it broke past 20,000 early 2021, but we saw it dip down that level just a few days ago. But by the time of this recording, it somehow came back and is above the 20,000 level. In this video, I want to share and talk about my thoughts about Bitcoin, because I've been getting a lot of questions. Bitcoin is still good? Do I still like Bitcoin? Why is it down? What's actually happening? Allow me to share my insights on that, and allow me to give you some data also based on data that's disclosed to the public, and share my insights on it. Before I go through all of that, allow me to share Bitcoin from the lens of technical analysis. You know me, I'm a big fan of technical analysis. Everything we know is found in the charts. Everything we need to know is found based on how people buy and in connection to volume attached to it. And I know there's a lot of people who will be watching this, and it's not just the traders, also investors. So I want to answer this in a very, very broad level approach, and even the technical indicators that I will show and use for this video will primarily hit a larger cross-section of the market. One thing that I look at, especially for long-term investing or especially for trend following, and if you've been following me for quite some time, I'm a big fan of moving averages. And the longer the moving average is, the stronger it is. Further away the price is from the moving average, it shows us that a reversal might be quite far off yet, or in the same way that it's still in the trenches of a downward trending slope. Now, that being said, if you look at the 200-day moving average for Bitcoin, which is a very, very long and very, very strong moving average, we are still seeing Bitcoin a bit off from where the 200-day moving average is. So please do note that the moving average by the time of this recording is somewhere around the 39,000 mark, which is quite far still. It may take some time before we actually see it break out from that level, denoting a reversal. And please do note, while all of this is happening, MACD is also below the zero line cross, confirming the downward trending slope that the 200-day moving average is showing us. However, while all of this is being said, Bitcoin is currently oversold via RSI, and whatever upward movement that we will see may be a knee-jerk reaction, primarily because it's oversold, primarily because it's lower. When a lot of people think it's cheap, it's lower, it's oversold, you see people who are bottom picking starting to buy. So that's where it is from a technical analysis point of view. From a 200-day moving average, it's still bearish, but even if you zoom out from where it was, the longer trend from the start of Bitcoin currently right now is still intact. Now, I want to show you some data given by Glassnode. The realized loss metric measures the total value delta between coins that were acquired at higher prices and the price when they were subsequently spent on chain. Realized losses reached a new all-time high, punctuated by 3 consecutive days with market-wide sell realized losses above 2.4 billion a day, totaling 7.325 billion. The profitability stress noted above appears to be playing out in investors actualizing their losses. So over this past few days, people who bought higher have been cutting losses, selling, and also panic. And maybe for some reason they just want to stay on the sidelines. And please do note that the entire backdrop of why this is happening, and I've mentioned this in the videos yesterday and the day before that, is that there's a looming US recession, and also there's an interest rate hike. And given all of that, it places a shroud of uncertainty in assets that are volatile like stocks and crypto, and it places a larger preference on assets like bonds that gives people a fixed rate of return. There are maximum pain thresholds in supply that can be investigated from 3 dimensions. Number 1, supply in profit dropped to 49.0% as the market traded down to 17.6 thousand. So what I've mentioned, around 17,000, that's the lowest that we have for Bitcoin, putting more than half of the supply into unrealized loss. Historical bear market floors have bottomed between 40 and 45% of supply and profit. Number 2 is addresses in profit. It assesses the profitability among individual wallets and returns similar results to supply in profit. The metric is now just 10% higher than the lowest level in the 2018 to 2019 bear market and the COVID crash, indicating just marginally less pain than at those bottoms. Number 3 is this, UTXOs in profits. It's a gauge of market profitability based on unspent outputs. This metric shows that 26.7% of all unspent transactions are in loss. Historically, at the bottom of the bear markets, 50.2% to 81.1% of all UTXOs were in loss. So currently, we're at 26.7% versus the historical range of 50.2 to 81.1%. Number 4 is LTH-SUPPLY in profit. It monitors the profitability of long-term hodlers as a gauge of severity of stress on Bitcoin's strongest-handed investors. As of the moment, 35% of long-term supply is at a loss. This means this cohort is still shouldering less pain compared to the past bear markets. Long-term holders held 42% to 51% of their supply at a loss. This is an expected natural drift in the floor of these metrics as coins are lost and deep huddled over time. As such, the sell-off over the weekend can be considered to have plunged profitability and investors into a historically meaningful degree of financial pain. Miner capitulation is happening in real time. A strong case can be made for Bitcoin to be considered a digital commodity, and like many commodities, it tends to have a relationship with most of the production. One way for people to value at least Bitcoin is the cost for miners to be able to mine Bitcoin. Currently, right now, the cost is around 17,600, and if you try to measure it, that was the lowest price that Bitcoin hit when it dropped over the past few days. So anything above 17,600, that means miners are currently profitable based on what they are getting to help validate and uphold the network. So what's interesting though, from May 2022 to where we are now, miners have been relatively selling. There have been outflows from miner treasury from about 5,000 to 8,000 Bitcoin per month. This is highly comparable to the 2018 to 2019 bear market where we saw capitulation happen. Lastly is this, long-term holders are in the verge of capitulation. Falling dominoes of the current bear market are advancing to a new phase. Alongside miners, long-term hodlers are now beginning to feel the pressure, forcing them to sell at an accelerating rate. Long-term hodler supply has declined to 178,000 BTC over the past week, equivalent to 1.31 of their total holdings. As long-term holders, unrealized losses amplify, and the intensity of this selling in loss can be monitored by the LTH-SUPPLY. This metric compares the market price and the cost basis of LTH of long-term holders spending coins each day. Past capitulations of long-term holders have occurred when the metric trades below 1, signifying that long-term holders are taking losses after holding for long periods. At the bear market lows, this metric has previously fallen into the 0.4 to 0.6 range, indicating 40 to 60% losses. Thus, the current spending behavior by long-term holders taking losses coincides with March 2020, but it's not as severe as 2015 and 2018. So just to put this to a close, the Bitcoin market has now experienced two distinct capitulation phases since the all-time high in November 2021. The first phase was triggered by the Luna Foundation guards selling 80,000 BTC, and the second was just a few days ago via the massive industry-wide deleveraging both on-chain and off-chain. Miners are now in significant financial stress, with BTC trading their near estimated cost of production, incomes well below their yearly average, and hash rate noticeably coming off all-time highs. The aggregate market has realized over 7 billion in losses this week, with long-term hodlers contributing some 178,000 BTC in additional sell side. Bitcoin participants across the board are very near historically high financial pain thresholds, with forced sellers appearing to drive much of the recent sell side. The market might begin to eye whether signals or seller exhaustion are emerging over the coming weeks and months. But please do notice, everything that we're talking about here all talks about the price. What's unique and interesting about Bitcoin is its technology, its scarcity, what it does, being game-changing technology, having the ability to store something in a decentralized manner, and for you to be able to send Bitcoin cross-border on a weekend at a very, very fast rate doesn't change it. Please do remember that since this asset is new, it's subject to a higher degree of speculation and volatility. It all will go back to how much you understand Bitcoin, and the lower it gets, is it something that will be attractive for you? Is it something that you like even more, especially if the technology is not actually changing, whether it's lower? And I'll say this over and over, that if you liked it at 69,000, which at that point was relatively expensive, then at 17,000, 18,000, 19,000, 20,000, 21,000, it's relatively cheaper already for you, especially if you want to stack it at a lower price, especially if your holding period is longer. And please do remember, if you are in it for the long term, always look at it from a technology standpoint, always look at it from what it's changing, and always look at it that if it's lower, you get to buy more at a lower price on something that doesn't change. Please do remember, Bitcoin in November 2021 versus Bitcoin in June 2022, the technology did not change. Other projects, you may see some changes. Other businesses, you may see some changes. But the technology that's in Bitcoin, it doesn't change. For me, the lower it is for my long-term holdings, this gives me ability to stack more for my trading positions. I'll wait for key reversals in moving averages before I start to enter. But for quick trades, as long as it holds those support levels and it's oversold, that could be a good area for me to make a quick buy and sell for trading. I hope that this was something that was insightful for all of you. I hope that this was something that helped you and gave you enough insight in the markets and share my ideologies towards Bitcoin. If you have any questions, put them down below, put them in the comment section, and I'll try my best to be able to answer you and give you enough details and insights with regards to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a whole. Or if you want to know more, we have hundreds of videos about Bitcoin below. We have a webinar, we have technical analysis courses, all aimed to give you the right decision when it comes to your money. So this is marvingermo. I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon, and God bless you all.